Another rookie who has a really crazy story is Tyrone Tracy Jr. After rewriting the record books at Decatur Central High School in Indianapolis, Tyrone Tracy went to Iowa expecting to be the next great wide receiver. Unfortunately, after 4 years, he was not able to make it work and ended up going to Purdue, trying to follow in the footsteps of guys like Rondale Moore and David Bell. Unfortunately, he got passed up by Charlie Jones, and going into his final year of college, he had been seen as a disappointment and had pretty much no shot at going to the NFL. Except the new staff decided to make a position switch, which would end up changing the course of his life. He went from wide receiver to running back, became one of the more efficient backs in the Big Ten, and is now drafted into the NFL, where he'll have an opportunity to play right away for the New York Giants and potentially be one of those new gadget players. In today's video, we're going to tell the story of Tyrone Tracy Jr. We're going to talk about his insane high school career, how he saved his collegiate career, and why he has so much hype for the Giants in year one. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about the insane rise of Tyrone Tracy Jr. So in order to understand how Tracy got to this point, we first need to go back in time with his parents. Laverna Tracy didn't grow up a fan of sports, as she instead focused on academics. But when she met Tyrone Sr., she knew she'd be hearing about sports one way or another. Then they had 4 boys, and just like Tyrone Sr., they were athletic-minded and competitive. There's a bookcase that stands in the front entryway of the Tracy household, as they grew up in Canby, Indiana. But it's not filled with books, it's instead filled with trophies. This is from all their different sons' athletic achievements, from their Pee Wee days to their high school days to even their AAU basketball tournaments. There is stuff pretty much everywhere, as the Tracy family has a huge lineage in Indiana. 3 of them ended up playing Division I football, and another cousin also played Division I football at Indiana. Tyrone Jr. grew up just outside of Indianapolis, and he had 3 brothers, Charlie, Kenny, and Javon. The oldest one did not play football, but the other 2 did. The Tracy family's life rotated around sports, and it seemed inevitable that they were all going to be big time. Javon's little brother said, quote, "Whatever we did, it was always competitive. No matter what. If we were to go to a restaurant, we leave and race to the cars and that sort of stuff. It was always competitive around us. Races to cars turned into arguments about football, and as the Tracy children grew older, one looming question remained: who had the best football IQ? No one really knows and no one will give you an answer, but many thought that Tyrone Tracy was the next big thing. Eventually the family would travel to 35 different states playing football and basketball, and they'd go to practices and tournaments pretty much everywhere. Everyone saw potential in Tyrone right away, as Decatur Central head coach noticed him the summer before his freshman year of high school. He was participating in summer workouts with the Decatur Central football team, and throughout workouts, the team decided to put Tyrone Jr. in varsity snap. He said, quote, "You don't do that with very many guys because they're 8th graders going to be freshmen and haven't really been put in the weight room yet." But he caught the ball and made a spin move on somebody, a varsity player, and from that moment on, it was electric, and we knew that Tyrone was going to be a very special player with the ball in his hands. Although several other Indianapolis area high schools were better known for football, Tyrone Tracy and his family believed he could advance faster at Decatur Central. Eventually, while he was at DC, he played all 3 phases: wide receiver on offense, corner on defense, and punt returner on special teams. But on one specific day, big-time schools started calling. But he was presented with a crossroads. Would he play the position he loved, or the position that colleges wanted him to play? When Notre Dame came and visited him, they loved his cornerback skills. They said that they would offer him if he decided to play corner in college, but he could not commit to playing defense as his heart wasn't in it. Throughout his recruitment, there were plenty of other schools that could have offered him if he played corner, but he stayed true to one thing: he was going to be a wide receiver. He said, quote, "I love the feeling of catching a football and making people miss." His head coach then said he probably could have gotten even more offers had he committed to just playing corner. But again, that's not what he wanted to do. By the time he was a junior in high school, he had received offers from Northwestern, Purdue, Illinois, and Louisville. The Hawkeyes officially offered Tyrone Jr. on October 5th of 2016, and with Iowa being known as Tight End U, he was initially kind of skeptical. But throughout his recruitment, he kept circling back to the Hawkeyes and was drawn to their environment, their work ethic, his drive, and the family culture in Iowa City. He said it felt like home. After visiting multiple times, there was one last question: how would he do in their offense? Well, he was apparently reassured by the staff that they were going to pass the ball more in upcoming years, and from there, he decided to commit to Iowa on April 29th of 2017. He ended up choosing Iowa over Louisville and Northwestern, and had nearly a dozen FBS offers. At 6'1", he'd eventually become the Gatorade Player of the Year in 2017, And there was buzz growing around Decatur Central that Tyrone Tracy could play on Sundays. I mean, how could he not? He had racked up over 2,500 all-purpose yards and 39 touchdowns as a senior and was going to play for one of the top programs in the Big Ten with loads of potential. He said, quote, "Out of high school, everybody's talking about being 3 and out. Maybe it would happen, maybe it wouldn't, but overall the journey was worth it. All that traveling as a kid paid off, as the 2 other Tracy boys ended up going to Miami of Ohio out of high school, and obviously Tyrone ended up going to Iowa. He was a stud by the end of his career, as in total, he rewrote the record book. He became the first ever player to have more than 1,000 receiving yards in a season, as he had 1,100 his senior year and 2,600 in total in his career. He also held the school record for touchdowns with 72. He had 444 total points and 33 total receiving scores. Despite the big numbers, he still wasn't that huge of a recruit and was just your average 3-star Power 5 prospect. According to 24/7 Sports, he was a 3-star recruit, the number 31 running back, and the 668th best player in the class of 2018. So, how would Tyrone Tracy do at Iowa? Well, let's take a look. So when Tracy would eventually arrive at Iowa in the summer of 2018, he would go through summer workouts with the team, but at the time, Nick Easley and Amir Smith-Marset were entrenched as the starters, so he decided to take a red shirt for the 2018 season. But in practice, he ended up being so good that he got the next man in honor for Hawkeye football, which he received his freshman year. Apparently, it's shaped like a Heisman Trophy, and this award depicts a wide receiver running towards the end zone. Going into the 2019 season, Tracy's role would increase after Brandon Smith got hurt. He ended up catching his first career touchdown in a win over Rutgers, then a couple weeks later had 85 yards in a win over Middle Tennessee. Flash forwarding to mid-October, he ended up catching 2 passes for 88 yards against Northwestern, and then had a career day against Wisconsin. In that game, he caught 5 passes for 130 yards and a touchdown, and they narrowly went on the road to Camp Randall and won. From there, he finished the year with 6 catches in a win over number 8 Minnesota, and then 6 catches in a win over Illinois. He'd helped them get to the Holiday Bowl, where they would beat number 22 USC, and in total, Tracy finished with 36 catches for 589 yards and 3 touchdowns. It looked like things were going really well for him, but then he hit a slump his 3rd year. He ended up appearing in 7 games during the 2020 season, but only had 14 catches for 154 yards and 1 lone touchdown against Nebraska. He said that was a very tough time for him, and he was somewhat frustrated with his lack of time on the field. But his parents said he never gave up on the team or never even thought about transferring to another school that would give him more targets. It was a true sign of his maturity. Sadly, after another disappointing season in 2021 though, Tracy really had to think. He only caught 15 passes for 106 yards and 1 touchdown against Maryland that year, and he was faced with a decision. He eventually decided to transfer, and he got offers from Purdue, Houston, Eastern Illinois, Miami of Ohio, and Hawaii. He decided to pick the one Power 5 offer he had in Purdue and transfer back home to the Boilermakers. I mean, this was a pretty good place to be going at the time. They had sent Rondale Moore to the NFL in the 2021 draft, they had just sent David Bell to the 3rd round in the 2022 NFL draft, and it looked like maybe Tracy could follow in that line. Unfortunately though, that would not end up working out for him. The season would end up in disappointment, as Aiden O'Connell got attached to Charlie Jones. Tracy just kind of became an afterthought. In total, he finished with 26 catches for 185 yards and didn't even catch a single touchdown. This started the most difficult time of his life. He felt his football clock was ticking like a heartbeat on a roller coaster, and he approached his final winter of conditioning wondering what was going to happen. Maybe he wasn't meant to play football, and maybe he was just going to go down as a disappointment. Luckily for him, new head coach Ryan Walters and the staff asked him to switch positions to running back. There was pressure and uncertainty, and at first, he was pretty dang skeptical. I mean, he had always wanted to be a wide receiver, and now Charlie Jones was gone. But he decided to trust the staff and move to running back, and splitting time with Devin Mockabee, it ended up working out brilliantly for him. In their first game against Fresno State, he scored a touchdown, and that was the first of 5 straight. He had 51 yards and a touchdown in their road victory over Virginia Tech, had a touchdown against Syracuse, 84 yards and a touchdown against Wisconsin, and then a career-high 112 yards and a touchdown against Illinois. So far, the position change had definitely worked, but he did hit a little bit of a slump. He struggled against both Iowa and Nebraska, but then bounced back with 61 yards against Michigan before a great stretch to end the year. In a victory over Minnesota, he'd run the ball for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then against Northwestern, he'd run for 160 yards and a touchdown. Tracy had now proven that he could be a running back at the college level, and a pretty good one. He'd play his final game against Indiana, as he did 48 yards in the Old Oak and Bucket game in a win over the Hoosiers, and he would finish the year with 716 yards and 8 total touchdowns. He also caught 19 passes out of the backfield, and Tyrone Tracy had saved his career. He was no longer a disappointment and was one of the better running backs in the Big Ten. While he was originally recruited as a wide receiver, he admitted that he wouldn't have been drafted if he would have played that position. He said, quote, "At receiver, I might have been an average speed player and an average size receiver. At running back, I'm fast, I'm big, and I can catch the ball out of the backfield." Not only was he a good running back, but he also averaged 26 yards on 16 kickoff returns, which included a 98-yard touchdown run. With new NFL rules designed to increase the frequency of kickoff returns, Tracy could also play on special teams. He also had a couple of other things working for him. Since he only had 146 career carries at running back, he was an incredible athlete who was going to have plenty of durability left. He posted a 9.78 raw athletic score, which ranked 42nd out of 1,903 running backs since it started. He also had a 40-inch vertical. To add on to that, he had a 4.48 40-yard dash time, which caught a lot of scouts by surprise, and he ran 23 miles per hour. So where was he going to go? Eventually, he ended up getting taken in the 5th round with pick number 166 by the New York Giants. A year earlier, the Giants had drafted Eric Gray out of Oklahoma, and now they're going to try to find a new running back. The upside with him was because he spent so much time at receiver, he didn't have that wear and tear, and then combine that with his athleticism, he could be a good second option for the team. This was a culture shock for Tyrone though. Coming from the south side of Indianapolis, he'd never stepped foot in the New York area. He said, quote, "I'm an adventurous dude, and I like to go out and see the world and make memories and experience things." As much as he wanted to savor what the region has to offer though, his top priority is football. He said, "I'm here to play football, and I'm not really worried about anything else." In terms of his potential fit with the Giants, there's actually a chance that he can play. Saquon Barkley departed, and Matt Breida was unsigned, so right now he has an opportunity to probably play a good amount. They did bring in Devin Singletary from Buffalo, and they also returned Eric Gray, Gary Brightwell, and Jashaun Corbin, but those 3 guys combined totaled 68 yards. There's a real opportunity for Tyrone Tracy to be second man on the depth chart, and maybe, just maybe, he could be number 1. He said, quote, "I feel like I have a good opportunity. They're going to allow me to showcase my skills, and like I've been asking my whole career, all I need is an opportunity." For Tyrone Tracy, things have not been easy. He ended up becoming a superstar recruit out of high school, and was expected to make it to the NFL after 3 years. And if it weren't for a position change, he probably wouldn't be here today. I'm definitely going to be rooting for him while he's in New York, and as a Purdue fan, it was great to see him over the last 2 years. We'll just have to wait and see how he ends up doing in a Giants uniform. But what do you guys think? If you're a Giants or a Purdue or Iowa fan, what do you think of Tyrone Tracy, and what other rookie should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.